Here's a question for you. What is The Last of Us about? And I'm not talking about it being about a world taken over by the infected. At its root is a story of a man finding closure over the guilt of losing his daughter, salvation of oneself by saving another. And so we get Joel, with Ellie representing a second chance for Joel to get things right. So now that you have a good handle of what the first game is about, what is the second game about? And here's why I believe that the second game gets so much hate. People expected The Last of Us Part 2 to be a continuation or escalation of Part 1's story, but it is not. The second game is not driven by the same story that the first game is. Some themes and plot points carry over and are even crucial, but the central driving force is not the same. While the first game is about one man finding closure over the death of his daughter, the second is about internecine conflict. This is not a revelation, it is widely understood to be the case, and the creators have repeatedly made this point clear. If you pay attention to what's happening both on a plot level and a character level, this becomes obvious. The WLF are locked in a vicious cycle of violence with the Seraphites, while Ellie and Abby are locked in their own battle for vengeance. This is what drives the story of Part 2. Furthermore, the story tells us that vengeance exacts a heavy toll on the soul of the Avenger. The Seraphites deviate from their pacifist roots and become violent and even barbaric. The WLF leadership becomes increasingly authoritarian and do not see their enemies as human and inflict savagery upon them. Similarly, Abby and Ellie are entangled in their own spiral of retribution. Joel kills Abby's father, Abby kills Joel, Ellie kills all of Abby's friends. Abby loses Owen both as a romantic prospect and then again when Owen is killed along with Mel. While Jesse isn't out for vengeance, he gets caught up in Abby and Ellie's fight, gets shot in the head, and never gets to see his child. Ellie too loses her family, the empty house she comes back to suggesting a desolation of her soul. Tommy is maimed by the end of the second game, and his family has broken up. Finally, the game tells us about how one can break free from such a cycle, and that is through forgiveness and understanding. Owen starts to find some humanity when he refuses to kill one of the enemy. He decides to opt out of the conflict and raise a family, a dream that never comes to pass as both he and his pregnant girlfriend are killed by Ellie, not unlike Jesse's fate. Abby finds her salvation by rescuing a child of her enemy and opting out of both the wider war and her personal conflict with Ellie. She spares Ellie, and her showing mercy to Dina at the end shows us that she's passing on the value of forgiveness and mercy to the next generation, represented by Lev. Finally, Ellie spares Abby, ending her quest for vengeance. Now, you can argue that this was not a good idea, that it would have made more sense to continue Joel and Ellie's story in Part 2, and I'm not opposed to that argument. It certainly would have made financial sense to do so, but the creators decided to tell a different story, a more challenging and complex story. And this wasn't some cheap subversion of expectations for the sake of it. The story fits in very well with the title of the game. In my opinion, the title is not referring to the few people that are left to continue humanity, but rather what little humanity is left in the people that remain. And if you accept that this is the story of the second game, then it all makes sense. Joel has to die to kick off the cycle of vengeance, and it needs to happen early. Ellie needs to go out and kill Abby's associates. In order to balance the perspective, you must play as Abby uninterrupted for a large portion of the game. You must see the conflict from both perspectives. Ellie must kill the attack dogs that appear as savage enemies, but then Abby will pet them because they're fluffy and cuddly.
See? I've got my little girl to keep me safe. Oh, baby girl.
Tell me where Abby is.
She's
pregnant.
If you see things from Abby's perspective, she easily appears to be the hero. Think about it. A girl who has a loving relationship with her father, whose father is trying to do good by finding a cure for the plague. But some douchebag comes in and kills him. So she goes to take revenge, and yet her vengeance is contained, focused. She only kills the man she needs to kill. She spares Ellie not once but twice, the second time after Ellie has killed all her friends. Abby breaks out of the cycle first, before Ellie. She is the first to find her compassion and she rescues Lev, a child of the enemy. This is an echo from the first game. Just as Joel found his redemption by caring for Ellie, Abby finds hers by caring for Lev.
Come on, baby girl. I got you.
I got you.
Ellie does choose to let go, to let Abby go, finally. Ellie needed to not have the choice made for her. That is her closure. She needed to become the person capable of understanding and forgiveness, to become a person who can kill and yet choose not to.
No. Just take him.
Sometimes the heroic and brave act is to simply live a good life. The Last of Us are more playable movies and gave us an epic and thematically rich story with complex characters spanning generations, where actions in one generation reverberate through to the next, and I think they are a masterpiece of storytelling. Alright, so the first game is not about the same thing as the second game, but what if I told you that the second season of the TV show is not about the same thing as the second game that it is based on? Much like the way the cordyceps fungus takes control of its human hosts, in the show, a competing narrative has hijacked the central driving force of the story. And to talk about this, I have to start with Dina's hair in the show. After days of traveling on horseback, sleeping in tents, being exposed to rain and dirt, and having limited access to beauty products, this is what her hair looks like. And this is what she looks like in the game. See, this entire show is dictated by a fear that some people might not like female characters that are flawed, that make mistakes, that are disheveled, and have limits. So Dina always has great hair and looks fierce, like she knows she's on camera. In the game, there's a great scene where Dina and Ellie want to smoke some pot, but are unable to open the jar that holds the joints. I loved this scene because it set out limitations, very human limitations on these characters. They break the jar, telling us where women may lack strength, they must compensate with ingenuity. The two girls proceed to get high and frisky, and Jesse barges in and chastises them for neglecting their duties. But this can't happen on the show. No, in the show, Jesse tells them and the audience that people look up to Dina and Ellie because... why exactly? We don't know. Jesse doesn't even know.
The others look up to you too. For some fucking reason.
Classic tell and don't show. This happens again much later on in the show when Jesse tells Ellie that she'd set the world on fire to save him, except she just abandoned Tommy, who is like an uncle to her, so she could take her revenge, like a couple of scenes earlier. So why does Jesse say this? Because this is the writers telling the audience that Ellie's a badass, without actually having to show it. The same thing happens in this scene where Isaac and this other lady both sing Abby's praises, even though we haven't really seen Abby do anything great.
Well, we have a lot of Mannies, don't we? And enough Owens and Mells. But only one Abby.
She's a good soldier, great even.
Who leads them? Who secures our future? It was supposed to be her.
Game Ellie reacts angrily to Dina, revealing that she's pregnant, which makes her look insensitive, but is an understandable reaction.
I just need to rest for a second. Are you fucking kidding? You're a burden now, aren't you?
However, this can't happen in the show, so we have this gem of a line.
I'm gonna be a dad.
In the show, Ellie tells Abby that she didn't mean to hurt her friends when Abby confronts her in the theater, but video game Ellie says no such thing.
I was looking for you. I didn't mean to hurt them.
But of course this doesn't make sense because we have this scene.
I didn't mean to hurt them. I didn't mean to hurt them. I didn't mean to hurt them. Where is she? I didn't mean to hurt them.
The biggest change was how the scene of Ellie killing Mel and Owen play out. In the game, Ellie kills them without remorse, and only displays regret after discovering that Mel is pregnant. She shoots Owen and plunges a knife into Mel's neck. But in the show, she literally kills them from a distance, and Mel is killed by a stray bullet. This is an attempt to at least partially absolve Ellie from responsibility for, and remove any intentionality in, killing them. Oh, and Mel, because she's such a strong and fierce woman, tells Ellie to cut her baby out, which Ellie doesn't do. It's just a scene added to show how fierce women are. There are a number of women leaders who are not in the game, all aware that there are cameras pointed at them. One such leader even insinuates that Isaac is in love with Abby and that old men tend to fall in love with younger women, like it's an indictment of men in general.
You in love with her or something? I don't know. You wouldn't be the first old man to...
Okay.
This is not in the game. It is absolutely unnecessary to the plot, but you see, a fierce, strong woman must berate a man who is in a superior position, because by doing so, the strong, fierce woman is elevated. This echoes a scene from episode 1 when Dina cuts Jesse off when he's briefing the patrol because I guess she doesn't want a guy mansplaining anything to her, even though he outranks them, and the briefing was meant for other people in the party as well. They also devote a scene to showing Ellie fighting a very large man, which is just laughable. I know they mentioned that the guy pulled his first punch, but he is clearly shown struggling to beat her for the rest of the fight. The writer said that they wanted to show that when she's in the zone, she forgets to temper her fury, which is actually a great piece of foreshadowing, because she does indeed become tunnel-visioned later when she is on her vengeful rampage. Except, why did she need to fight a guy twice her size? She could have fought a smaller guy, or here's an idea, another girl? No, this scene exists for only one purpose. We are shown this because women are so strong, don't you know? Because a 5'1" teenage girl can beat up a hulking 6-foot tall man. Finally, Game Abby does not reveal to the audience or to Joel why she kills him, the reason becoming clear much later. But on the show, she reveals her motivation before she kills Joel.
An unarmed doctor you shot in the head. Yeah, that was my dad.
Why? Because if she didn't, the writers feared that the audience would hate her too much, so they need to protect her perception. The answer to why such deviations were made is very clear to me. It is hard for me not to see the show as a work of naked and poorly executed propaganda. Look, there is no shortage of this girl boss, strong woman slop out there. But what is unique here is that the source material, the game, had two very complex female protagonists, but evidently this was not enough for the creators of the show. Now, many will be tempted to brand me a right-wing conservative incel for making these criticisms, but consider that I say in this video that I think that the second game is a masterpiece. I also just finished playing Split Fiction with my girlfriend, and I enjoyed it immensely and found the characters and the story to be very wholesome. It is possible to make interesting characters when one is not preoccupied with making them look good all the time. I think as people who love well-crafted stories, we should call out garbage when we see it. Ta-da! The strong woman trope refuses to die despite being loathed by both men and women, and despite yielding the most insipid and obnoxious characters and sinking entire franchises. Writers of agenda-driven characters have a dilemma. Do you make someone who is a poster girl without faults begging to be liked? Or do you make someone human with flaws who makes mistakes and risk the character being disliked? The answer is that it is not a dilemma, it is a false choice. The heroes in The Last of Us Part 2 struggle to find something good in them that redeems them. And the audience too must be allowed to find the good in the characters that is buried beneath their selfishness and mistakes and flaws and failings and bad hair. Thanks for watching.